For years, American entertainment media thought they could define who deserved attention. They believed fame was a game they controlled, a system that rewarded noise, controversy, and headlines over heart. But then came Jin of BTS, quiet, elegant, and unbothered. When US outlets dismissed him, when journalists wrote that his charm might not translate to the Western market, he didn't clap back, didn't rant, didn't beg for spotlight. Instead, he let silence become his most powerful weapon. And in that silence, the world started to listen. The story begins in the early days of BTS's global rise, when American publications were racing to decode the group's unprecedented impact. Jin, often described by Korean fans as worldwide handsome, was, ironically, the one Western media seemed least eager to analyze. Rolling Stone, Variety, and Billboard routinely highlighted other members' projects, collaborations, and personalities, but Jin's name was often left out or brushed over in a single line. Some critics even implied he was too traditional, too polite, too quiet to survive the Western spotlight. They misunderstood him entirely, because while the US media chased viral controversies, Jin was mastering something far rarer: timelessness. He didn't need to shout to be seen. He didn't need to chase attention. Every time he appeared, whether in military uniform, at a fan meeting, or at a brand event, global conversations erupted. His facial expressions became viral moments. His offhand remarks turned into global hashtags. He didn't play by their rules, and that's exactly why he won. When Jin returned from his military service, the silence surrounding him broke like glass. The same outlets that once underestimated him suddenly scrambled to feature his comeback. Billboard ran a full profile praising his emotional depth and maturity. Rolling Stone highlighted his influence as a solo artist who embodies the evolution of K-pop beyond genre and borders. Forbes called him a global phenomenon who changed the narrative through presence, not provocation. It was no longer Jin chasing recognition, it was recognition chasing Jin. Media experts now call it the Jin effect. Without confrontation, he reshaped the Western entertainment landscape. His name trends with no scandal attached. His photos circulate without forced PR campaigns. Even American celebrities, from talk show hosts to fashion icons, have started to acknowledge his magnetic calmness. Gucci's CEO reportedly described him as the embodiment of modern quiet power. That phrase now echoes across the industry, defining an entirely new archetype of fame, influence without noise. Behind this transformation lies something deeply human. Jin's confidence doesn't stem from arrogance. It comes from discipline. He once said in an interview, "If you know who you are, you don't have to prove it to anyone." Those words became prophetic. While tabloids chased temporary stars, Jin was building legacy. He didn't fight back against underestimation. He outlasted it. Social media has played a critical role in amplifying his silent strength. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtags like #JinGlobalIcon, #JinTakesOver, and #the worldwide legend dominate trends every time he breathes. YouTube channels analyzing celebrity influence consistently rank Jin as one of the most engaged personalities in global fandom culture. Yet what fascinates analysts most is how organic his presence is. Unlike stars who rely on marketing machinery, Jin's influence spreads through genuine admiration, fans sharing interviews, photos, or short moments that capture his sincerity. Even in the US, where celebrity culture thrives on oversharing, Jin's minimalism became refreshing. He rarely posts, but when he does, it's an event. A single Weverse update breaks into international headlines. American fans, once skeptical, now call him the K-pop star who taught Hollywood how to be human again. That's not just a compliment. It's a cultural shift. When asked about fame, Jin never sounds consumed by it. He approaches success with a scientist's detachment, observing it, learning from it, but never letting it own him. He knows the volatility of public attention, and he's mastered the art of moving gracefully through it. While Western media often glorifies reinvention, Jin proves that consistency can be just as powerful. He doesn't reinvent himself to fit trends. Trends reshape themselves around him. In 2025, something extraordinary happened. During his quiet return to global schedules, Jin appeared at a luxury event in Tokyo, elegant, calm, radiant as ever. Within minutes, major US outlets that once ignored him suddenly flooded the internet with headlines. Jin BTS captivates Gucci event, the return of a global gentleman, why everyone's talking about Jin again. It wasn't a publicity stunt, it was gravity. His presence pulled attention naturally, effortlessly, And this is the paradox that now haunts American media. The very silence they once used to sideline him has become his greatest advantage. Their reluctance to cover him created a void, and that void only made people more curious. Jin didn't shout back. He let the void speak for him. Now, every appearance feels like a comeback. Every interview feels like a revelation. He turned their selective blindness into free marketing. Today, US journalists no longer ask whether Jin can appeal to Western audiences. They ask how he does it so easily. His image has transcended language barriers, cultural expectations, and media politics. From the New York Times to Harper's Bazaar, his name has become shorthand for sophistication and sincerity. The same Western media that once doubted him now studies him. They write about his communication style, his emotional intelligence, his ability to make fans feel seen without saying much. In a world addicted to noise, Jin's quiet became revolutionary. Critics call this the age of deliberate silence. It's the idea that in a saturated information era, restraint is the ultimate form of power. Jin didn't fight for space in the Western press. He created his own universe, where the press had to follow. When Time listed him among artists redefining global influence, it wasn't just about fame. It was about control. Jin controls his narrative not through statements but through presence. His rise is also a reflection of BTS's enduring philosophy, sincerity over spectacle. But even within BTS, Jin's path stands out. While others experimented with sound and visuals, Jin built his empire on authenticity. Every gesture, from his military salute to his unfiltered interviews, reinforces that image. And in doing so, he inadvertently exposed the cracks in the American celebrity system, a machine that values controversy over character. What happened next was poetic justice. Western media, which once underestimated his staying power, now needs him to survive the global K-pop wave. Editors have learned that stories about Jin guarantee traffic. His name brings clicks, engagement, and legitimacy. Rolling Stone and Billboard, once hesitant to feature him prominently, now use his name in headlines because audiences demand it. The balance of power has shifted. Jin doesn't chase coverage anymore. Coverage chases him. Fans see it. Brands see it. Even critics see it. Jin has rewritten the unspoken rules of fame. He's living proof that silence can roar louder than any scandal, that grace can outlast gossip. His dominance in 2025 isn't loud or aggressive. It's inevitable. Like a rising tide, it moves quietly but reshapes the entire coastline of global media. In an age where stars beg for relevance, Jin commands it. In an era of performative authenticity, he lives it. And in a media landscape built to bury those who don't play along, he's standing taller than ever. Not because he shouted, but because he never needed to. The silence that once surrounded Jin BTS has become the loudest echo in global entertainment. What American media initially treated as absence has evolved into aura, a magnetism that cannot be engineered, replicated, or ignored. In an industry where attention is currency, Jin mastered the rare art of selective visibility. Every appearance is intentional, every pause calculated, every word a ripple across millions of screens. His restraint became strategy, his elegance became armor, and his authenticity became revolution. When US publications once labeled him the quiet one, they misunderstood that quiet is not weakness, it is discipline. While tabloids hunted for scandal and drama, Jin was quietly redefining what it means to be relevant. He did not need to scandalize audiences to hold their attention. Instead, he reminded the world that dignity could still dominate. This is why the same media giants that once ignored him now treat him as an intellectual puzzle. How did he rise so far without saying a word? The answer lies in something far more profound than marketing: presence. Jin carries presence like few others in modern pop culture. Whether on a red carpet or behind a studio microphone, his composure radiates. There's no desperation to impress, no performance to prove worth. He simply exists, and the world adjusts its gaze. Even American journalists who once prided themselves on skepticism have conceded to his magnetism. Billboard's senior editor wrote in a 2025 op-ed, "Jin BTS represents a kind of fame that Hollywood can no longer manufacture, fame that breathes authenticity." That authenticity has become his currency. In an era when influencers and celebrities drown audiences in overexposure, Jin's scarcity makes him priceless. His public appearances are events, his words are dissected like poetry, his smiles are studied like symbolism. It's a cultural phenomenon that Western analysts now call Jin minimalism.